Welcome back to The Wealth Shift by Ben and Bergs, the go-to playbook for busy investors building real wealth in the digital era. I'm Ben Simpson, high school dropout, turned 8-figure entrepreneur, investor, and founder of Collective Shift, a global crypto research platform with clients around the world. And Aaron Berghuber, an MBA qualified, financially free investor and business leader. The show dives deep into strategies shaping the next generation of wealth builders. Together, we unpack the exact frameworks used by sophisticated investors to grow and protect wealth across crypto, business, property, and macro markets with no fluff, hype, or jargon. Whether you're managing a $100,000 portfolio or $5 million plus, The Wealth Shift delivers timeless strategies, investor psychology, and actual insights for those serious about playing the long game. This is your playbook for building wealth in the digital era. We release episodes every week, breaking down exactly how sophisticated investors are growing and protecting wealth right now. If you like the episodes, please subscribe so you don't miss out on what is next. Bergs, the new season, The Wealth Shift. We want to go straight into the beans, mate. The 5 brutal truths about money no one tells you. You've read this brilliant book called The Art of Spending Money by Morgan Housel. And, mate, everyone wants to get rich. But after all the work we've done, we work with so many investors, hundreds, thousands of investors, and building this company that's now 8 figures, we've realized money teaches you how and what is not truthful when you didn't have money, right? It's brutal truths that no one prepares you for.
Money only solves your money problems, and it is the beginning of your problems. You think money will solve your problems, you get there and you're like, shit. This didn't work, better try something else. But there are some universal things that we have learnt. We have learned these the hard way in our lives, and here are 5 things that we want you to know about money that is very important, and hopefully you can recognize them when you're on your journey as well and not make the mistakes that we did.
So good. Let's kick it off, mate.
All right, lesson number 1. If you're already an unhappy person, it's unlikely that more money will ever fix your money problems. And this is highlighted in the book, where the core ingredients that really make people happy generally are like friends, family, health, having meaning and fulfillment in your life, a clear mind. These things, a healthy body, these things can't be purchased. They can only be earned. So having more money, if you're already unhappy and don't have these things, money is not going to solve these problems for you.
Mate, money has only amplified the problems that I have. And probably for the listeners at home, maybe you've been in the situation as you grow more money. I remember it was actually reflecting this with my girlfriend a couple of days ago, when we grew from, $100,000 a month in revenue. I think the business was at the time, maybe we ramped so quickly to 500,000, 600,000 a month. And it was so overwhelming. It was like the craziest period of time I've ever gone through. And we hadn't been making that much money every month ever. And I remember just walking in once to my girlfriend's place. I'd only been with her for 6 months, and I just don't know what happened. I just burst into tears, just came in and just lost it. And she's like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, you okay? You okay? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just making so much money. It's like, and it wasn't from it wasn't even like a euphoric feeling. It was stress. It was actually it was amplifying the insecurities, the anxiety, the stress now that we have to deliver on what we're doing. And I remember the feeling of I didn't deserve it. I didn't feel like I was worthy of it. I felt I was doing, I shouldn't have been in this position. And I think that's the biggest thing. Wealth doesn't change your character. It exposes it.
Exactly. And it amplifies it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like before, now you've got this big bucket of money, but you've got your happiness bucket over here, and it's empty because you're tired, you're stressed, you've got way more customers, you've got to expand your team. There's all these things you have to do. It is not just having, I get this number, it's over here and I'm instantly happy. You're still the same person. You got the same psychology. You're on the same trajectory. And unless you've actively focused on those things in your life, you're going to be in a world of hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's everyone, a lot of people that listen to this podcast, like executives or even business owners, you start to level up in income brackets. And if anything, it just makes you more distant to your friends and family that aren't at that level. And it becomes harder to maintain the relationships that were probably not even that great to begin with. And I find that it becomes harder to associate everyday life and have commonalities with people depending on where you are in your life. And if you're already struggling or you're not happy or whatever, when you get that money, it doesn't make it easier necessarily. Like it can actually make it harder.
Yeah. And the wild thing about this is it's not necessarily the money itself, it's the psychological shift that happens. And when you have more money, you need to change your psychology from your previous one. And then once you've done that and you start executing against that psychology and that plan, that then distances you from people that think differently. An example of this would be like us as entrepreneurs in a very risky space versus someone that works in government that's very risk averse.
Yes.
Like it's just not compatible, right? Yeah.
I think the other thing, like it can like money for me has made my life better in areas where I can spend on health. You just bought a cold plunge ice bath, Bergs. Like, I spend money on, sauna, ice bath, gym, chef. These things are like they make your life easier and better, but it's not going to fix your broken relationship with your wife or your husband, right? That's not going to make that any better.
Yeah, that's it. And this is a great lead into point two. When spending more money does make you happier, it's usually for indirect reasons.
Oh.
So people think I'm going to win the lotto or I'm going to sell my company. I'll get $10 million. I'm going to have a Lambo, a big house, whatever. No, that shit ain't going to make you happy. Having the big house, you're going to be stressed out. You're going to spend 6 figures just maintaining it and getting cleaners in. There's going to be staff around all the time on the grounds, everywhere. And all these things are going to stress you out. They're not going to make you happier. And if you think about the happiest times in your life, the classic one is a holiday. Everyone's been on a holiday. Everyone's generally happy on holidays. And that joy and the best part of that week you're on holidays is not the money that you're spending. It's that you're uninterrupted. It's work-free, email-free. You don't have a commute time and you're with your family and friends and doing the activities that you want to do. Yeah. And that is what makes you happy, not the money.
There's a good quote. I've been getting into Stoicism and philosophy a little bit more recently. And one is from Seneca. Wealth is the slave of a wise man, the master of a fool.
So good. And this is when, so the way I frame that is this a mausoleum? Is this a noose around my neck?
Yes.
So every time I have to make a trade-off, which is a point that's coming up, like, do I do this thing? Am I a slave to my wealth? Do I now have to manage it too much? Do I think about it too much? Does it inform too much of my decision-making? Has it changed who I am as a person? And it's like, well, shit, money's supposed to solve all my problems, but it's bringing me these other ones. And you really have to be careful about whether the decisions are intrinsic and you're driving them, or it's this external thing, money, that's driving the direction of your life.
Yeah, that was another like reframing, I've been thinking about more recently. It's like reframing wealth to like you said, is this internally driven because your, wealth and success and money is a byproduct of the results you're creating in whatever you're doing with your, investing, job, business, or are you driving wealth for external reasons, like, for ego and like for, for you to show off that wealth? Like if that is an unfulfilling, spinny wheel of death in a sense of you can never actually win. You buy something, you buy the watch, you buy the car. It's great for a week. I was thinking the other day, like I was looking at my Rolex, and like I remember when I first got it, I look at the Rolex on my arm and I'm like, oh my God, this thing, like, look, I'm so pumped, I'm showing it off. Now it's just another watch.
Yep. And wealth is what you don't see, right? How we signal wealth in society is having the fancy car, the fancy watch, the fancy house. And if you sell one of those things, people are like, oh, are you going broke? And it's like, well, no, I just don't value that anymore. I'm just trading it for another asset, or I'm getting rid of it. But that's how we show wealth. And a lot of that is just funded by debt. You went to the States recently, You did a whole bunch of marketing courses, and all these guys have Lambos that they've hired trying to sell courses to people to convince them they're rich and to buy their course, and they will also become rich.
It's crazy. Like, the group that I'm a part of was, they were actually, these guys are pretty good. It was actually an interview I did on a podcast who was telling me he's had some major influences on his podcast as guests. And these guys sell dreams, not information. It's one in particular bought a 2 point something million dollar Bugatti on debt that he couldn't afford, and he's paying $50,000 a month to lease this car that he's got to give back in 4 months because he doesn't own it and he can't afford to keep it at 30% interest rate to sell the dream of young people becoming how good he is. And I look at that and I knew this stuff happened, but when I really heard it and I follow and see some of these guys online, I'm like, are you kidding? Wow, these guys, it's like a course Ponzi. It's like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And what's like, if you already have some of the core ingredients of happiness, spending money can be like leverage for a good life. But the opposite is also true. If you don't have those core ingredients and you're focusing on things that are potentially detrimental to you, your health, your relationships, having more money is going to fuel that.
Yes.
And you've got leverage in the opposite direction.
Yes. Well, I think about people that increase their lifestyle too fast, like lifestyle creep, and they can't afford it. And like you said, that's the noose around the neck. That's the wealth being a slave. Mastering you is being at a point where you're paying for things that you can't afford because you want to be at that level. And, personally, like when I remember I didn't have a lot of money come out of that, I did things and spent money that you probably didn't have because you wanted to kind of keep up with society, and you end up realizing like, wait, hold on a minute, like I can't afford this. I can't be at this level. And I see people, my age that are buying houses and trying to, play out the great Australian dream, or American dream, and buying property that they can't afford because they want to have a home, and now they're a slave to their loans for 30 years.
And this brings us perfectly into point 3. Never focus on what money can do for you without a clear understanding of the cost of acquiring more of it. So, and the classic way to frame this is everyone is jealous of what you have. No one is jealous of how you got it. And in the words of Ronnie Coleman, everybody want to be a bodybuilder, but nobody want to lift no heavy ass weights. And that is so, so true. Everyone will see your stuff on Instagram, Ben. You're flying around, you're driving a Tesla, you're doing everything. No one sees the 12, 13, 14-hour days relentlessly 7 days a week that have gone into this. And they don't actually see what you're doing in the background, where you're still working crazy hours. You're running from meeting to meeting to podcast to the next thing to your team things. They only see the things that you have.
Yeah. And also people only see where you're at right now. They don't know or remember or see what you've been through to get here. We did this exercise with our team, just the other day, because we have so many like new employees at Collective Shift, and a lot of them haven't been around for a long time. And we went right back to 2 or 3 years ago at the bottom of like the absolute pits of the business. And when things were the hardest they've been, we had to lay off half the team. Everyone took pay cuts. I didn't take a salary for a long time. And we were just like bashing our head up against the wall, eating peanut butter off the floor. It was brutal. And
maybe you were. I kept mine in a jar.
It was brutal. And I think the pain that you go through, people don't see. The grass is always greener. I've got, I know a guy that, I won't obviously say his name, but, his business is doing tens of millions in revenue. And, he's barely able to get, 5%, 10% profit margins. Like, you're turning over tens of millions of dollars and you're making, $1 million or $2 million. Like, that's extremely, extremely difficult. The pain and suffering and the employees and the stress and what happens if something goes wrong and like all these things. And you see on the outside this great, amazing business, but on the inside, not the same.
Yeah, when you've experienced it, you see how the sauce is made. It's a completely different story, but people only see the outcome. That's like, Ben, you're an overnight success. It's like, mate, how many years have you been doing this for?
A long time, nearly 8 years. Yeah, 8 years. So.
Exactly right. And this is for in your lives as well. Like, what are you willing to sacrifice? So if you want the Lamborghini, let's say it costs $400,000, how many years will you have to work? how many years, let's say 4 years, 100 grand a year, because you're very high income earner, you'd be able to save 100 grand a year. What are you sacrificing? The time with your family, the extra projects, the travel, the mental health is going to wear down your body. What are you really sacrificing to be in that car? And is that car worth it? And think about when you're in a situation like you're at work, you're an executive, and you see other people kind of, getting all of these things, like, oh, well, maybe I want that for my life too. And for the situation you're in, it might make sense where you're like, I'm stressed, I'm at work, I deserve to enjoy my life. I'm going to buy the bloody, Land Cruiser, whatever it is, Prado, and I'm going to buy the big caravan. I'm going to go traveling. I'm going to do all this. But what are you actually sacrificing? How much more do you have to work? Are these the things you actually want? How often are you going to be able to use them? How often are you going to get leave? And then also look out for what Ben mentioned before, hedonistic adaptation, where what are you optimizing for? Is it happiness and freedom? Because if you are, you don't want more debt, right? You want that freedom. So an example for me would be that I want the Lamborghini. Okay, I've got some money. I could go buy that tomorrow, but I don't, because I would much rather have that amount of money of future freedom in my time, which might be 3 years worth of living expenses, where I don't have to work. I can chase my curiosity. I can work, do projects I want to do, and just live my life and no one tell me what to do, rather than have a car sitting in my driveway that I'm probably going to stress me out. I'm not going to enjoy a month from now. I'd rather just hire the car for a little bit, get that out the way, go to a track day, and have that huge amount of freedom in my life where I control my future time.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think about now, like, having money is more about where can I reinvest that capital to get a higher ROI? Where can I use my money efficiently to grow? Wealth creates wealth. Simon Beard, the Culture Kings founder, talks about, who sold it for $600 million, talks about for 10 years, he just built a war chest. He never took anything out of the business. He just kept building that war chest and just kept reinvesting, compounding, doubling down for years before he took anything out of the business. And that's what created such a massive company. When you take money out, and this is how I think about it, if I go out and buy a Lamborghini, well, the ROI of that Lamborghini is negative. Like, it's essentially, it's losing money, it's depreciating, right? Versus growing it by investing back in the business, or going and, doing a course, or paying, like, I'm a part of a lot of groups where, I can go and learn from. The one in the US. It's close to $5,000 dollars a month that I have a part of this group. But the ROI of that, I could 100% allocate hundreds of thousands of dollars now to return on that investment, where something like a car or, a watch is nowhere near it.
Exactly. I always think about the ROI. So what's the cost here? So an example would be, I bought an ice bath, $6,000, a lot of money. And I get that because I can use it every day. It puts me in a better mood, reduces my inflammation. I sleep better. I'm less cranky at my wife and my child. And it just returns so much more than the money that I put in. Another one is getting a cleaner. My wife and I fight like cats and dogs because we hated cleaning. Who's cleaning up this shit? Who's vacuuming? Who's doing this? I'm very allergic to dust. It's like, spend like the $150 and get a cleaner in. And we come back, we go out for lunch while the cleaners are here. We come back and it is the best 150 we have ever spent. And that 150, you can't even get a dinner for that these days. No. And that is the hugest increase in life. So just be aware of where you're spending your money and the opportunity cost there. And also what you said about building the war chest, Ben. When no one can hold your balls and no one can fuck with you when you got fuck you money. And that's as little as 6 months of living expenses.
Yeah.
You really need to think about that and think about the future. If you have kids, okay, do you want to be working in your, 50s and 60s, like have to work and work really hard for your retirement? Or do you want to start investing, have more time off then while you're still able to go on holidays, spend time with your children? Or even when your children are older. Let's say your kid gets a job and the boss is an absolute asshole to them. Now you got the freedom where you don't have to say, oh, I'm sorry, suck it up. You need that money. You've got to pay for your mortgage. You could say, go find another job and I will help you out for that little period of time.
Yeah.
It just gives you those options. And when you think in that way, like if I'm like, oh, I'd want to help out my child in the future in 10, 15 years when they're older. or do I want that Lamborghini today? It's like, it's not even a choice.
100%. Totally agree. And I think for those listening at home that are, specifically in the space for crypto in particular, the way I think about it is that, it's not protected, that capital, until one, it's in Bitcoin, or two, you've taken profits. So many people listening, and including myself, round trip because we took too much risk and we didn't protect it. You need to protect your wealth. Once you build it, you need to protect it. Arguably, protecting it sometimes is harder than building it. Anyone can buy crypto, anyone can make money, but unless you sell it, unless you protect it, that's the hard thing. And that's where really people need to your point, Bergs, start to think about what happens if it all turns to shit tomorrow. Are you ready?
Yeah, making money is a lot easier than keeping it. That's for sure. Now, on to point 4. So much of a good life is about what didn't happen. So this is the illnesses you avoided, the unaffordable lifestyle that you locked yourself into, the mistakes you didn't make, the regrets you don't have. So just within our company, we have a Notion document called Damn Good Decisions because people only look at the decisions they make where they took action on it and then there was an outcome. That outcome was either negative or positive. They don't go, hey, we talked about this and we didn't go down this path and we stopped the company from blowing up. That is a huge thing. You need to think about what didn't happen. And when you see, the classic thing here is when you see someone else's life and you're just like, oh, they're rich, they've got this, they've got that, I want their life. You can't just have the rich part. You got to have every aspect of their life. What are their relationships like? Are they ill? Do they, are they anxious all the time? Whatever it may be. And just that one aspect, money, if you got 99% of your life right and you haven't quite sorted out your money part, your life is amazing because you need to think about the things that didn't happen and be super appreciative. And just quickly, an example for me is I wake up in the morning. I no longer have chronic illnesses that I used to have. I'm not in big amounts of pain. My brain works, my arms and legs work. I can go outside. I can look up at the sun. I can have a coffee. I can pat my dog. I'm not in hospital. A couple of my mates have had cancer. A few of them have died and I'm only 42. And I'm thankful every single day about the things that didn't happen.
Yes. Yeah, I think if you look back and you look at the decisions of, your life in the past and, listeners, that you probably think about those certain decisions that you made, that you don't always have the right information. And as investors, one of the biggest things that I always say in crypto especially is the reason we can make so much money in crypto is because of the volatility and the pain that you need to go through to get the upside, and those decisions you make when you should have bought something. Everyone's got the friend, everyone's got a story. Oh, I heard about crypto. I heard about Bitcoin back in 2013. I heard about Ethereum early, but I didn't make the decision. I didn't make that call, and it's those things that you have to take and make action and make a decision to create the outcome you want. And inaction, equals regrets. And I think I always come back to the thing we've spoken about for so long, Bergs, hard decision. What is it?
Hard choice is easy life. Easy choice is hard life.
And you're right.
The cost of indecision is higher than making a wrong decision.
Correct. That hope is not a strategy, folks at home holding those old coins. You're just waiting for it. Hope is not a strategy. Make the call.
Exactly. Take some action and get on with your life. Move towards your goals. And finally, it brings us to number 5. Looking back, whether you lived a good life will likely have little to do with how much money you made or spent. And as you move on in your life and you earn or have more money or spend more money, you realize it doesn't matter, honestly. Like when you look back, and this, if you're chasing money, are you on your 7th marriage, your 7th divorce? Yeah. How are you really doing? And the way to look at this is 2 ways. One is the 80-year-old test. So when you're 80 years old and you look back on your life, what are the things you wanted to accomplish and the things you'll have the least regrets, and go after that. So for me, I was working in health and I just finished my MBA. I had all these skills. I was consulting with Ben, and I would have regretted if I just stayed in health and stayed stagnant and not given it a go with Collective Shift. And there was a high 90% chance that Collective Shift would just blow up. But we worked at it and worked at it, and it has been successful. And I could not go to my grave without trying that, where I knew Bitcoin was going to be a thing, crypto is going to be a thing. I can have an opportunity to work in this space, put my skills on show, and also generate some wealth. So that was for me. And then the other framing of this is money is not going to factor into who you want to show up at your funeral or your eulogy or what it says on your tombstone. It is not going to say amazing businessman made $5 million on your tombstone. It's going to say loving father, husband, wife, whatever, next thing. And those are the things that truly matter, not how much money you made or spent in your life.
Yeah, it's a great point, Bergs. And like some of the stuff like, the reading recently on the Stoicism side is around, detaching yourself from wealth, and it's about the character that you are and the way you show up and who you are for other people, and the person you want to be. And detaching yourself from money is so important to drive and make decisions based on, who you want to show up as. And, for me, I think the most fulfilling things that I have done or am doing in life has not been launching the new product or, getting the new ad strategy up. It's buying my parents a house, as an example right now, or, giving mum and dad money to go on a holiday with, or, sponsoring my sister's basketball team. Like, those are the things that matter. Those are the things that really make you feel good and you're doing something well.
Exactly. And it comes back to, what is your internal benchmark? Like, what are the things that drive you and make you happy? Because it's not going to be a number on a screen. It's what you can do with those things. And when you mention Stoicism, it's the perfect framing where, with Stoicism, you don't have to live like a monk and, reject all these things. You can enjoy money. You can enjoy having a richer life. But Stoics would say, recognize it for what it is and recognize it for how you actually got the money, because any fool can just spend money if they have it. And then also, if it went away, that you would still be okay and just as happy as you are today. And if you master those things, you'll be in an amazing position.
Love it. I'm going to end there. That's a great way to finish, Bergs. The first episode of the new season of Ben and Bergs, The Wealth Shift. Folks,
Season 2,
baby. If you enjoyed this episode, we are coming out each and every week. We release new episodes breaking down exactly how sophisticated investors are growing and protecting their wealth right now. If you want to receive these episodes, please subscribe on YouTube or follow us on your favorite podcasting app. If you want to see exactly how smart, busy investors are also growing their crypto portfolios without wasting hours on charts, influencers, or guesswork, click the link below in the description. We've got a free training on the proven 7-step system trusted by high-performing executives and business owners around the world that are growing their crypto each and every day. That's in the link and description below, completely free. Check it out. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next episode, Bergs.
Thanks, champions.